If you're over 60 and reaching for your third cup of coffee before noon, what I'm about to share might shock you. That energy boost you're desperately seeking could actually be making things worse. I've seen countless patients trapped in this exhausting cycle, and today, I'm going to show you a natural alternative that could change everything about how you feel each day. I'm Dr. Emily Hartman, a functional medicine physician with over 20 years helping patients reclaim their vitality without relying on stimulants. And what I've discovered through working with hundreds of people in your age group might surprise you. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend hitting that button and turning on notifications so you never miss another health tip made especially for you. If you enjoy this video, please leave your questions and video suggestions in the comments. I read every single one, and it helps me create more content to help people just like you. Let me tell you about Margaret Thompson, a 72-year-old retired schoolteacher from Portland. Margaret came to my office absolutely exhausted. She was drinking 5 cups of coffee daily, yet by 2 in the afternoon, she could barely keep her eyes open. Her hands trembled, her sleep was terrible, and worst of all, she felt like she was losing her mental sharpness. The woman who once managed 30 students simultaneously couldn't remember her grandson's soccer schedule. Margaret told me through tears, "Doctor, I feel like I'm disappearing. The coffee keeps me going, but I don't feel like myself anymore." What Margaret didn't realize was that her coffee habit wasn't giving her energy, it was stealing it. And she's far from alone. After 60, your body processes caffeine completely differently than it did in your 30s or 40s. Let me explain what's really happening inside your body. When you drink coffee after 60, your liver takes nearly twice as long to break down caffeine. That morning cup is still affecting you at bedtime, disrupting the deep sleep your brain desperately needs to consolidate memories and clear out toxins. But here's what most people don't know. Caffeine also interferes with your body's ability to absorb essential nutrients, particularly B vitamins and magnesium, the very nutrients you need most for natural energy production. Your adrenal glands, those small organs that help manage stress and energy, become exhausted from the constant caffeine stimulation. Think of it like revving a car engine constantly. Eventually, something breaks down. In your body, that breakdown shows up as afternoon crashes, brain fog, anxiety, and that wired but tired feeling that so many of my patients over 60 describe. But there's something else happening that's even more concerning. Caffeine causes significant spikes and crashes in blood sugar, which is particularly problematic as we age. Your pancreas doesn't respond as quickly as it used to, and these blood sugar swings can accelerate cognitive decline and increase inflammation throughout your entire body. Now, I know what you're thinking. But doctor, I need something to help me stay alert and focused. And you're absolutely right. The question isn't whether you need support for energy and mental clarity. The question is, are you getting that support in a way that helps your body or hurts it? This is where something fascinating comes in. And if you're still watching and finding this information valuable, comment below to show you're with me. I want to introduce you to a natural powder that works with your body instead of against it. I'm talking about matcha green tea powder. Now, before you think this is just another form of caffeine, let me explain why matcha is completely different from coffee, especially for people over 60. Matcha contains a unique amino acid called L-theanine, which creates what scientists call alert calmness. While matcha does contain caffeine, it's released slowly over 4 to 6 hours instead of hitting you all at once like coffee. But here's the remarkable part. The L-theanine actually modifies how your brain responds to that caffeine. Instead of the jittery, anxious energy from coffee, you get smooth, sustained focus without the crash. Let me take you back to Margaret's story. After our consultation, she agreed to replace her morning coffee with matcha. I'll never forget her first follow-up appointment 3 weeks later. She walked in with energy I hadn't seen before. "Dr. Hartman," she said, "I feel like I've woken up from a fog. My mind is clear, I'm sleeping through the night for the first time in years, and yesterday I actually had energy to play with my grandchildren after dinner." But Margaret's experience isn't unique. I've seen this transformation in patient after patient. Robert Chen, a 68-year-old accountant from Seattle, came to me with similar complaints. He'd been drinking coffee since college, 6 or 7 cups daily by the time he reached his 60s. His blood pressure was creeping up. His hands shook so badly he had trouble signing documents, and he couldn't focus on complex tasks anymore. Robert was skeptical about matcha. "How can tea do what coffee can't?" he asked me. I explained that it wasn't about doing more, it was about working differently. The combination of compounds in matcha, including powerful antioxidants called catechins, actually supports brain health rather than depleting it. Robert switched to 2 cups of matcha daily, 1 in the morning and 1 in the early afternoon. Within a month, his blood pressure had normalized. His tremor disappeared. And here's what amazed him most. He could work on his clients' tax returns for hours with sustained concentration, something he hadn't been able to do in years. He told me, "I thought losing my edge was just part of getting older. I was wrong." Now, let me explain the science behind why matcha is particularly beneficial after 60. Your brain naturally produces less of certain neurotransmitters as you age, particularly dopamine and acetylcholine, which are crucial for focus, memory, and motivation. Matcha contains compounds that support the production of these neurotransmitters without the depletion that comes from caffeine overstimulation. Additionally, matcha is incredibly rich in antioxidants, specifically a type called EGCG. These antioxidants cross the blood-brain barrier and protect your brain cells from oxidative stress and inflammation, 2 major contributors to cognitive decline. In fact, matcha has over 100 times more antioxidants than regular green tea. But if that surprised you, wait until you hear about what matcha does for your cellular energy production. Inside each of your cells are tiny powerhouses called mitochondria. These are what actually create energy in your body. As we age, mitochondrial function naturally declines, which is a major reason why people feel more tired after 60. The catechins in matcha have been shown to support mitochondrial health and efficiency, meaning your cells can produce more energy from the nutrients you consume. Let me share another story with you. Patricia Lopez, a 75-year-old retired nurse from Miami, had essentially given up on feeling energetic. She'd tried everything: multiple types of coffee, energy drinks, supplements. Nothing worked sustainably. She came to my office and said something I'll never forget. "Doctor, I raised 4 children, worked night shifts for 30 years, and now I can barely make it through a lunch with my friends without feeling exhausted. Is this really all I have left?" Patricia's words broke my heart because I knew they didn't have to be true. We started her on matcha, but I also taught her the right way to prepare it. This is crucial, and I want you to pay attention to this part because how you prepare matcha makes a significant difference in its effectiveness. Traditional matcha preparation involves whisking the powder in water that's hot but not boiling, around 170 to 180 degrees. This preserves the delicate compounds that provide the health benefits. Patricia learned to make this part of her morning ritual, whisking her matcha mindfully, which also became a form of meditation for her. 3 months later, Patricia joined a walking group, started volunteering at her local library, and told me she felt more like herself than she had in a decade. "The energy is different," she explained. "With coffee, I felt pushed. With matcha, I feel supported." Now, I want to address something important. Not all matcha is created equal, and this matters tremendously for getting results. Ceremonial-grade matcha is made from the youngest tea leaves, shade-grown to increase chlorophyll and amino acid content. This is what you want for drinking. Culinary-grade matcha is fine for cooking or baking, but it won't give you the same benefits when consumed as a beverage. The color is your first clue to quality. High-quality matcha should be a vibrant, bright green, almost like the color of fresh grass in spring. If it's dull or yellowish, it's oxidized and has lost much of its potency. The texture should be extremely fine, like powder makeup, not grainy or coarse. When you open your matcha, it should smell fresh and slightly sweet, almost grassy. If it smells musty or like hay, It's old. And here's something many people don't know. Matcha should always be stored in the refrigerator in an airtight container away from light. The compounds that make matcha beneficial are also sensitive to heat, light, and air. Let me tell you about another patient, James Wilson, a 63-year-old architect from Boston. James had been experiencing what he called senior moments with increasing frequency. He'd forget why he walked into a room, lose his train of thought mid-conversation, struggle to recall clients' names. He was terrified he was developing dementia. His father had suffered from Alzheimer's, and James saw his own forgetfulness as an inevitable slide toward the same fate. James was drinking enormous amounts of coffee to try to stay sharp, sometimes 8 or 9 cups a day. But the more coffee he drank, the worse his memory seemed to get. He couldn't sleep, which made everything worse. When he came to me, he was anxious, exhausted, and genuinely frightened about his cognitive future. We ran some tests and discovered his magnesium levels were critically low, partly because caffeine was causing him to excrete it through his urine. His sleep architecture was completely disrupted. No wonder his brain wasn't functioning well. I explained to James that his brain fog wasn't necessarily the beginning of dementia. It was more likely the result of chronic sleep deprivation, nutrient depletion, and the constant stress his coffee habit was putting on his system. James switched to matcha and committed to a better sleep routine. The change was remarkable. Within 6 weeks, his so-called senior moments had decreased by more than half. His wife called me to say, "I have my husband back." James himself told me, "I can design again. I can hold complex spatial relationships in my mind. I can remember conversations." I didn't realize how much I'd lost until I got it back. The L-theanine in matcha played a crucial role in James's recovery. This amino acid increases alpha wave activity in the brain, the same brain waves associated with relaxed alertness and enhanced creativity. It's the mental state monks achieve during meditation, and matcha can help you access it naturally. Furthermore, L-theanine enhances the production of GABA, serotonin, and dopamine, neurotransmitters essential for mood regulation, focus, and cognitive function. This is particularly important after 60, when your brain's natural production of these chemicals declines. Now, let me give you practical guidance on incorporating matcha into your life. Start with 1 cup in the morning, replacing your first coffee. Use about half to 1 teaspoon of matcha powder. If you're sensitive to any caffeine, start with less. Mix it with hot water, or if you prefer, you can add it to warm plant-based milk for a matcha latte. Many of my patients enjoy it with a small amount of honey or maple syrup. Pay attention to how you feel over the next 2 to 3 hours. You should notice sustained energy without jitteriness, improved focus, and stable mood. If you're used to coffee, you might experience mild headaches for the first few days as your body adjusts. This is normal. Stay hydrated and be patient with the transition. After a week, if you're tolerating it well and want more support in the afternoon, you can add a second cup around 1 or 2 in the afternoon. However, avoid matcha after 3 in the afternoon as it can interfere with sleep for some people, even though it's much less disruptive than coffee. Here's something else that might surprise you. Matcha can actually support your cardiovascular health in ways coffee cannot. The catechins in matcha have been shown to support healthy cholesterol levels, improve blood vessel function, and reduce inflammation in the arterial walls. For people over 60, when cardiovascular disease becomes a leading health concern, these benefits are significant. I think about Dorothy Sanders, a 70-year-old retired postal worker from Denver, who came to me with both energy issues and concerning cholesterol numbers. Her doctor wanted to start her on medication, but she hoped to try lifestyle changes first. Along with dietary modifications and increased walking, Dorothy started drinking matcha twice daily. 6 months later, her cholesterol had improved significantly, enough that her doctor agreed to hold off on medication. But Dorothy told me the energy change was even more meaningful to her. "I used to feel like I was dragging myself through the day," she said. "Now I wake up ready to go. I'm hiking trails I haven't been on in years. I feel strong again. Dorothy's experience highlights something I see repeatedly. When you support your body's natural energy production rather than forcing it with stimulants, the benefits extend far beyond just feeling less tired. Your mood improves, your sleep improves, your cognitive function improves. Your body can heal and maintain itself more effectively. Let me address some common questions and concerns I hear from patients about making this switch. First, many people worry that giving up coffee means giving up that morning ritual they love. I understand. The ritual of that warm cup in your hands, that first sip, is comforting. The good news is, you don't have to give up the ritual. You're simply changing what's in the cup. In fact, preparing matcha can be an even more mindful, centering ritual than pushing a button on a coffee maker. Second, people worry about the taste. If you're used to coffee, matcha will taste different. It's more subtle, slightly sweet, with a gentle grassy or umami flavor. Some people love it immediately. Others need time to adjust. If the taste is challenging at first, try adding a small amount of natural sweetener or mixing it with plant milk. Many of my patients find that as their taste buds recover from years of coffee's strong, bitter taste, they come to prefer matcha's more delicate flavor profile. Third, I'm often asked about cost. Quality ceremonial-grade matcha is more expensive than coffee, that's true. However, when you consider you're using less than a teaspoon per serving, and when you factor in the health benefits you're gaining, most patients find it's an investment worth making. Think of it as preventive medicine. The money you spend on quality matcha now may save you much more in healthcare costs down the road. Let me share one final story with you. Thomas Murphy, a 78-year-old widower from Philadelphia, had essentially withdrawn from life. After his wife passed, he spent his days in his apartment, drinking coffee, watching television, and feeling increasingly isolated and depressed. His daughter brought him to my office, concerned about his declining cognitive function and complete lack of energy or motivation. Thomas was resistant at first. "What's the point?" he asked me. "I'm almost 80. This is just how it is when you get old." But his daughter persisted, and Thomas reluctantly agreed to try matcha. That was 2 years ago. Today, Thomas volunteers 3 days a week at a community center, teaching woodworking to teenagers. He's sharp, engaged, and told me recently, "I thought my life was over. I was just waiting. Now I realize I still have so much to give, so much to experience. That brain fog I thought was permanent? It lifted. I got myself back." Thomas's transformation reminds me why I do this work. Age doesn't have to mean decline. The right support can help your body and brain function beautifully for decades. Now I want to dive deeper into something that many of my patients find fascinating: the relationship between what you drink and your gut health. This might seem unrelated to energy and focus, but stay with me because this connection is crucial, especially after 60. Your gut produces about 90% of your body's serotonin, a neurotransmitter essential for mood, sleep, and cognitive function. Coffee, particularly when consumed in large quantities, can irritate your gut lining and disrupt the balance of beneficial bacteria in your microbiome. This disruption doesn't just affect digestion. It directly impacts your brain function through what scientists call the gut-brain axis. Let me tell you about Helen Rodriguez, a 66-year-old bookstore owner from Austin. Helen had been experiencing not just fatigue, but also digestive issues, bloating, and what she described as mood swings that seemed to come out of nowhere. She'd wake up anxious, spend her day feeling irritable, and by evening she was exhausted and depressed. She was drinking 4 to 5 cups of coffee daily, thinking it would help her power through. When Helen came to my office, she mentioned that her gut issues had started gradually over the past few years, coinciding with when she increased her coffee intake to manage her bookstore's demanding schedule. I explained to her that coffee's acidity and its effect on gut bacteria might be contributing to both her digestive symptoms and her mood instability. We switched Helen to matcha, and I also recommended she work on healing her gut with probiotic-rich foods. The change was profound. Within 3 weeks, her bloating had disappeared. Within 2 months, she told me, Dr. Hartman, I didn't realize how anxious I'd been living. I thought it was just stress from running a business. But this calm, steady feeling I have now, this is what normal is supposed to feel like. Helen's story illustrates something I see often. Coffee creates a stress response in your body, releasing cortisol, your stress hormone. When you're younger, your body can handle these repeated cortisol spikes. But after 60, when your hormonal system is already dealing with significant changes, these constant stress signals can wreak havoc on your mood, your sleep, your immune system, and your ability to manage actual stress in your life. Matcha, on the other hand, contains compounds that actually support gut health. The catechins have antimicrobial properties that help maintain a healthy balance of gut bacteria, while the L-theanine reduces the stress response. Instead of triggering cortisol release, matcha helps modulate it, keeping your stress hormones in a healthier range throughout the day. But there's another aspect of matcha that I find particularly exciting for people over 60, and that's its effect on autophagy. Autophagy is your body's cellular cleanup system. Think of it as your cells taking out the trash, breaking down damaged proteins and dysfunctional components, recycling what can be reused and eliminating what can't. This process is crucial for preventing cellular aging and maintaining cognitive function. As we age, autophagy naturally slows down, which is one reason why we accumulate more cellular damage over time. The EGCG in matcha has been shown to support and enhance autophagy, particularly in brain cells. This means matcha isn't just giving you energy for today, it's potentially helping protect your brain health for years to come. I had a patient, Richard Foster, a 71-year-old engineer from Chicago, who was particularly interested in this aspect of matcha. Richard had always been scientifically minded, and he came to me after reading about autophagy and longevity. He'd been drinking coffee his entire adult life, but was willing to try something new if it might help him stay sharp as he aged. Richard approached the switch methodically, keeping detailed notes about his energy levels, sleep quality, and cognitive performance. After 90 days, he showed me his data. His deep sleep had increased by 40%. His energy levels were more stable throughout the day with no afternoon crashes. And he'd noticed improvements in his problem-solving abilities at work. He was still consulting part-time and he told me, "The young engineers I work with are surprised I can keep up with them. Honestly, I'm surprised too. I feel sharper now than I did 5 years ago." Richard's experience highlights something important. The benefits of matcha aren't just subjective feelings. They can be measured in improved sleep architecture, more stable energy levels, and better cognitive performance. This isn't about believing it works. It's about physiological changes happening in your body. Now let me address something that concerns many of my patients. What about the caffeine content in matcha? Isn't caffeine still caffeine? This is a great question, and the answer is both yes and no. Yes, matcha contains caffeine, typically about 70 milligrams per teaspoon compared to 95 milligrams in a cup of coffee. But as I mentioned earlier, the caffeine in matcha behaves differently in your body because of the L-theanine. Think of L-theanine as a buffer. It doesn't eliminate the caffeine, but it changes how your brain and body respond to it. You get the alertness benefit without the jitters, anxiety, or crash. Your blood pressure doesn't spike. Your heart rate stays stable. And crucially, the caffeine is released slowly over several hours rather than hitting you all at once. This slow release is particularly important for people over 60 because your cardiovascular system becomes more sensitive to sudden changes. Those heart palpitations some people get from coffee, that racing feeling, that's your heart responding to a sudden surge of caffeine. With matcha, you avoid that surge entirely. Let me share the story of Alice Montgomery, a 69-year-old yoga instructor from San Diego. Alice had developed heart palpitations that terrified her. She'd be in the middle of teaching a class and suddenly feel her heart racing irregularly. She saw a cardiologist who found no structural problems with her heart, but suggested she eliminate caffeine. Alice was devastated. She loved her morning coffee ritual and genuinely felt she needed it to have energy for her early morning classes. When Alice came to me seeking alternatives, I suggested matcha. She was skeptical that any form of caffeine wouldn't trigger her palpitations, but she was willing to try. I started her on a very small amount, just a quarter teaspoon, and had her gradually increase over 2 weeks. To her amazement, she experienced no palpitations. None. She had steady energy throughout her classes, and she told me, "I get the benefits I was looking for from coffee without my heart going crazy. I didn't think that was possible." Alice's case demonstrates how the unique combination of compounds in matcha creates a gentler, more sustainable form of energy that doesn't stress your cardiovascular system the way coffee can. This is especially crucial after 60, when heart health becomes a primary concern. There's also an important point to make about hydration. Coffee is a diuretic, meaning it increases urine production and can contribute to dehydration, especially problematic for older adults who often don't drink enough water to begin with. Dehydration affects everything from kidney function to cognitive performance to skin health. Many of the symptoms people attribute to aging, like dry skin, constipation, and difficulty concentrating, are actually symptoms of chronic mild dehydration. Matcha, while it does contain some caffeine which has mild diuretic effects, is much less dehydrating than coffee. Plus, you're consuming it in water, which helps maintain hydration. I encourage my patients to think of their morning matcha as both an energy boost and a hydration opportunity. Many of them add it to their routine of drinking a full glass of water upon waking, whisking the matcha into that water, and starting their day well hydrated. Speaking of routines, I want to talk about the ritual aspect of matcha preparation because I've found this to be unexpectedly meaningful for many of my patients. In our fast-paced world, even retirees often feel rushed, scattered, and disconnected. The traditional preparation of matcha requires you to slow down, be present, and engage in a mindful activity. You heat your water to the right temperature. You measure your matcha. You whisk it slowly, watching the powder transform into a smooth, frothy beverage. This process, which takes maybe 3 to 5 minutes, becomes a form of meditation. It signals to your brain that you're transitioning from sleep to wakefulness in a gentle, intentional way, rather than jolting yourself awake with a blast of caffeine. Several of my patients have told me that this morning ritual has become their favorite part of the day, a few minutes of peace and presence before the day's activities begin. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. If you're over 60 and struggling with energy, focus, or that feeling of mental cloudiness, your coffee habit might be part of the problem rather than the solution. Matcha offers a way to support your natural energy production, protect your brain health, improve your sleep, and feel more like yourself again. Start with quality ceremonial-grade matcha. Begin with 1 cup in the morning, prepared correctly with water that's hot but not boiling. Give your body 2 to 3 weeks to adjust. Pay attention to how you feel. Not just your energy level, but your sleep quality, your mental clarity, your mood, and your overall sense of well-being. And please talk to your doctor before making this change, especially if you're on medications or have any health conditions. Matcha is generally very safe, but it's always wise to keep your healthcare provider informed about changes you're making. Remember, you have more control over how you age than you might think. The choices you make today about what you put in your body can significantly impact your quality of life tomorrow, next year, and decades from now. You deserve to feel energetic, clear-headed, and fully engaged in your life, regardless of your age. If you found this information helpful, please let me know in the comments what specific health topics you'd like me to address next. Your questions and suggestions help me create content that truly serves you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so now. I'm here to help you navigate the journey of aging with vitality, clarity, and confidence. Thank you for watching, and here's to your health and energy.